Welcome to Blacktinidad, a space where we celebrate Afro-Latino culture and amplify our diverse communities. I'm Cayo.
I'm Eliana.
I'm Francia.
So today we're talking about films or TV shows that have made a cultural and social impact on society. What are some things that you guys can think of that have impacted you growing up?
Oh boy. Francia, I'm gonna let you go. I know Francia got the answers ready.
Yeah, I'll tell you, coming up as a queer kid and not knowing it, the first time I saw two men kiss on TV was really shocking, scary, but also like something in me told me, oh, maybe this is not wrong, or maybe this is differently. I remember seeing Karamo on screen on The Real World and seeing him super masculine and owning up to his queerness, and that was a beacon of light for me. I was just like, oh, wow. When I saw Noah's Ark, a completely black cast talking about queer, gay issues openly. What a breath of fresh air. Queer as Folk was beautiful, the L Word. Those were pivotal moments for me. It took me another decade to come out,
okay.
But at least I knew that there was something out there that validated my feelings.
Beautiful. I had a similar experience with just that whole era of black sitcoms.
Yeah.
Just like the late 80s and the 90s, where it was just like Fresh Prince and Martin and A Different World and Living Single and like back to back to back to back to back. And it was just like a kind of representation that did not exist before. And it was just so cool seeing black stories presented that way, in a way that we were not thugs, we weren't drug dealers, we weren't crackheads, like,
And the families, a lot of the families that were presented together too.
Yes,
It wasn't always just like the broken family or the dad's not here, not there, and
And they were lit, and hilarious.
Yes, they were so witty, they were lit. I was kind of lucky because we didn't have cable in Puerto Rico, so I had to watch them with Spanish, like Spanish dub over. So it was funny watching like Will Smith in Spanish, or watching Family Man. I used to watch TGIF in Spanish on Fridays, going with the Spanish dub over.
I mean, Afro-Latina to the core.
I mean, literally, literally. Let me see. Oh my God, for me, there's been so many, but I do remember very vividly when I first saw Amistad.
Opa.
And I knew, as I've talked a lot about on the show, is I knew about the Middle Passage, I knew about our history, but I also learned it by the lens of the Caribbean. So everything that happened post the Caribbean, I learned about it in college, and then when I watched the film, it just kind of gave me this visual of just how bad it was post the Caribbean to the United States, right? And also, I remember having to write about the mathematical equation they came up with on how to fit how many bodies into the boats for the transatlantic, slave trade. And then, I remember seeing the visual, because, it was like they used math to see these many bodies per square foot, but then seeing the film. And I don't know, and Digimon, it just really hit me. And I think I dove even deeper into those studies in college. And then there's another movie called American History X that actually kind of gives you the perspective from the Nazi white supremacy side and the dilemma that the main character is going through with going to jail and having to be Aryan or having to join his Aryan brothers, but also becoming friends with a black guy, and that's when I don't know, for me it just kind of was wow, this is America, so they just kind of raised a bigger level of awareness for me.
It's wild how it kind of creates a click in your head.
Yeah.
And you can remember those moments where you won't be the same after it. I feel like someone else who's really good at that is Spike Lee.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I feel like he's so good at not only putting activism at the forefront, but doing so in such a tasteful way.
Yes.
I remember watching his films and just feeling wow, it's so artsy and aesthetic and cool.
And cool.
The clothes that they wore,
Relatable.
the way they talked,
Yes.
he
So
really,
swaggy.
he really got the essence of being black.
Yeah.
Blackity black, unapologetically.
Yeah.
And I loved him for that. Do the Right Thing is just as relevant when it came out in the late 80s to today.
It really is.
He's documenting real life through art. But
Yeah.
it's real life, real issues in New York City. I think films for me are my teachers, my history
Yeah.
teachers. Like I remember watching Selma.
Yes.
I learned so much through that film, or 12 Years a Slave, or historical films like that gave me pieces that I didn't learn in high school, or I didn't learn in Venezuela growing up in the school system there. They
Right.
fill gaps for me, but I also wish there were more stories that we don't even know exist, that don't have the capital to get told,
Right.
but are equally as important. One story in particular from Venezuela that shocked me was the story of Manuela Sáenz. She was Simón Bolívar's lover.
Ooh, tell me more.
And she was in the military. They gave her a title. She gave herself a military title, and she was so strong that she led forces as well in the shadows of Simón Bolívar being a woman at that time.
Yeah.
And were it not for that film, I wouldn't have known that she existed, because history didn't treat her well, because she was his lover.
Storytelling is so important.
So important. I feel like one of the things that I really, really love are documentaries. Like, I think like it's one of my favorite ways to consume information and to learn. And even though, you can't learn everything, but there's been a lot of documentaries that have dove into things that I've had more interest in learning. And then I also love an autobiographical movie. Like, I love, when I got to see Ray, when I got to see the Billie Holiday film, right? Because you get to see a different side of these celebrities, of these moguls, of these artists that we love, and it really does humanize them,
100%.
and it kind of shows you like, hey, this person was having all of this success. Meanwhile, this is what they were dealing with, in their lives. And I think it's important for us to see people in that way, to humanize people that we look up to, whether it's government, history figures. So anything that dives into like someone's personal life story, I love that. All right, y'all, this has been a great conversation, but we have to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more here on Blacktinidad.